back to another episode of Rugby with Pads. We are continuing our fancy musings, our off-season stuff, but we're back in the preseason. Fancy preseason now. We are in preseason and drafting. We have finished the NFL draft. We've got our rookies in place, and we are looking towards draft season. Yes, it's a long way till you probably draft. You're probably drafting 3-4 months from now. But for those of you not, let's have a think about this. Those of you start doing startups, those of you doing rookie drafts, there's a lot to consider here. And I want to talk about something that is a philosophy that I have, and this is going to, kind of pin the philosophy for the next few episodes of this series moving forwards. Is the fact that you don't ever, despite what they say, it's the most important tentpole event of the fantasy season, but you don't ever win your league in the draft. But it sure can set you up for success. Let's have a think about that. Yeah, it can set you up for success. There are some exceptions, of course, to all of these. To this fine rule that I've just set out in that statement there are always exceptions. Leagues where waivers are going to be so thin that only the drafted players matter. For example, like in a 16 or 20-man league, your draft matters a lot. And best ball tournaments, obviously, that's the obvious ones. But so much happens in the season that a good team and a championship team, in my opinion, is 70% management and 30% draft assets by the time the season is done. Every league that I've won is not necessarily filled entirely, and the final roster of my starting lineup is not filled with players that I drafted. It's filled with players I've picked up, changed, adapted, all that kind of stuff. Maybe it's more 50-50, depends on how you think, but I think the value of in-season play is higher than necessary draft play. There are further exceptions to prove the rule as well. You will have all seen it. The guy who rocks up not knowing anything, auto drafts his way to a team that just happens to work and come alive in the playoff and embarrass everyone. Yeah, of course, those happen. They're few and far between. They're fancy folklore, although I swear it happens to me more often than it's being purely coincidental at the very least. But instead, I think you should position the draft as an opportunity to stake your claim on what your team looks like and try not to lose the league. It's more about mitigating disaster than it is necessarily trying to win week 18, week 17, however many weeks it's got, the championship week before you even start week 1. For many, the draft is the first time that they will get to start playing in the season. For most, engaging with the redraft format, that's when it kind of all comes together in September, August, September. Couple of marks and you're good to go. The excitement of the occasion can become a lot, though. And for folks who have their people focused on their guy, you can play into that a little bit if you're clever as well, and use that against your opponents. If you know that's where they're going, you can make them make mistakes as well, and that's really, really interesting. They might have a blinker on themselves, and that's something that you can use against them, and it proves that it doesn't prove that I do think this means that you cannot win your league and draft because there are people who are so laser focused on certain things that you can't predict what's going to happen necessarily. Again, I'll repeat this again and again and again. I've gone around in circles a little bit, but you cannot win your league in the draft, but you sure can lose it by focusing in on the wrong players. Those blinker players, you probably have blinkers on that you don't even realize, even if you are the most well-educated fantasy study what was it called, academic, whatever, you can still do it, and you can still get blinded by players that we think are good and who are not. For every person who starts the league in August, there is one for whom it never stops. These guys live in dynasty updates, scour the waiver wire, scour prospects, build tier lists, and you should do that. Talk about that in the next episode, but in a future episode. But these people will want to have sought out an answer to every possible variation for the first 10 peaks. However, they too can fall foul. Preparedness for the draft does not mean you will automatically pick up the win. As we've already established, you can't win your league in the draft. I'm going to repeat that statement so many times, but you can fall victim of an in-season injury bug, the failure to launch blue chip player, and the sleeper who continues to sleep. You cannot win your league in the draft. It sounds like a mantra. It sounds like I'm doing some kind of self-help podcast, but you can lose it. This mantra doesn't mean you have to avoid risk, as that way mediocrity lies. You will end up becoming fifth in your 10-man league every season if you just try and pick the safe players. But what it does mean is that one part of a whole when building a championship roster needs to be your draft, and we need to be aware that rosters change and champions themselves, they adapt. I've just said a lot of things and maybe it's a bit mumbled, but the summary of it is that I think it's better to view the draft as being important. Just not that important that you should, put all your chips into it. It is important, but you should still respect it. Or if you don't plan to be a waiver hawk, there's no perfect rule, but the advice for me is not getting tilted if your sure thing 101 doesn't turn out. Le'Veon Bell was a 101 one year and he held out for the entire season. Andrew Luck retired. Clyde Edwards-Helaire. David Johnson the year after he was good. CMC in 2020, 2021 or 2024. We all just want to be hurt by him again. He wants to get hurt apparently. These things happen in your draft. So if you put too much into it, if you put 100% into the draft, you will bound to be hurt unless you're that guy who auto drafts, as I said, who always seems to win the league. What I'm saying is make sure you take the right risks, get the right players you want, and enable, I guess also ensure that you buy into the idea of maybe having to move on from some of these guys as well. That's something that we'll talk about in in-season management as well. And definitely move on if things start to head south. Hopefully, again, guys, that's the end of my ramble. Slightly scripted, slightly not. Got caught up in a bit of the passion there, but remember the mantra here. You do not win your league in the draft, but you certainly can lose it. But on the flip side, your draft can certainly help, so don't ignore it. Anyway, thank you so much for listening to this 7-8 minute rant. I really appreciate it. If you like the pod, please go like, share, subscribe. The best thing you can do is share this with someone and get the word out. If you want to support the pod, you can go find us on all socials at Rugby with Pads. Go to rugbywithpads.com, get yourself a membership from as little as £1 a month. Get yourself some cheaper merch as well. We also do all the league dues, and we're going to do fun stuff, and I'm going to publish out some of these articles on there as well. So hopefully you can make sense of my ramblings on text rather than me just shouting into a mic here. Thank you so much, as always, for listening. I'll be back very soon with some more content for you to gobble up. That sounds weird. Anyway, it's draft season, and I will see you all very soon on the Virtual Gridiron.